Hello everyone. Before we get started, I do want to apologize for the late videos and how slow they're coming one after another. I am really trying, but like my main problem is I'm having like major editing issues. I have to use a million different softwares and I can't just use one for everything that I want to do, which is so fucking annoying. And finding storage for all of these different softwares is very tricky. So every single video that I'm editing always ends up having some type of problem and some technical difficulties where I just kind of give up for 2 weeks and then come back to edit it again, and then there's another problem and then I give up for another 2 weeks. So I'm gonna get that sorted over time. Hopefully by December or January next year, I have everything under control and I can finally use one software to edit, and it has everything that I want and that I need in order for me to edit the way that I want to edit. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, as per the title of this video, today we're going to be talking about my toxic bookish traits. I was only able to come up with 7, so let's get into it. The first and major one, like that is my main toxic book trait. I cannot DNF a book. I physically cannot bring myself to DNF a book, which is so fucking annoying because every year when I look at the list of books that I've read, I find at least 10 books that I could have DNF'd. It wasn't worth it for me to keep on reading. But my issue is, I am super fucking nosy. I always want to know what's going to happen, how it's going to conclude. For some reason, I can't function if I don't finish the book. It's like haunting me, and I keep thinking about it over and over again because I'm like, well, how did these characters end up? Even if I don't care about them, even if I don't care about the story, I still need to know. It's gonna feel like unfinished business for me, and I just don't like that. So for me to DNF a book, I really have to be pushed to extreme boredom. I've managed to DNF 2 books this year, which is big for me. Okay, and I guarantee you it should have been more. Like by now in September, I've read 52 or 51 books. I definitely should have DNF'd way more than just 2 books, but it's progress, baby steps. My main issue with DNFing books, and that's like the main one, I feel like if I DNF it and I hate it, I can't talk shit about it. You know what I mean? If I'm reading a book and I hate it, I want to be able to talk shit about it, especially if I'm like 50% into it and I don't like it. I don't want to stop reading it and then talk so much shit about it. Maybe it got better in the end. I don't know, but I won't know if I don't finish it. You know what I mean? But 9 times out of 10, it never gets better. So I need to get over myself and just DNF the books. Number 2, if I don't like a book, other people are crazy for enjoying it. And I mean that wholeheartedly. I'll read a book, there was nothing for me to enjoy about it, and then I hear people talking about the same book and I'm just so confused. I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Like, and this is only for books that I genuinely feel like objectively are bad, but you know, to each their own at the end of the day, right? Number 3 might be a little bit controversial. I don't know. I mean, it's fine. It's not anything serious, but I hate knowing anything about authors. Yeah. Ignorance is bliss, babes. I don't need to know anything about you. And one of the main reasons for that is because I feel like the more that I know about an author, the less positive or the less negative I want to be about the book. You know what I mean? The more I feel like biases are going to arise. Honestly, tagging an author on Instagram is so terrifying to me. Speaking of Instagram, I recently made my own Bookstagram account. If you want to go follow me on there, you can. It's going to be in the description below. Also, it's just Lynn Howells. There's a lot more updates over there if you want to keep up with what I'm reading or what I'm doing, especially when I take these unintentional 2 months hiatuses. You can definitely find me on there. But back to what I was saying, tagging an author on Instagram is terrifying to me. I mean, the chances, especially if they're like really big, the chances of them actually seeing it are very slim, but still, how do you do that? I don't need you on my page, okay? And I definitely do not need you knowing what I thought about your book. Maybe that's a personal issue that I need to work on, which is why most of what I know about any type of author ever is from what I hear from other people. It's kind of like voice acting to me. I'm definitely a lot more normal about it now, but when I was younger, like preteen age, I used to be so rigid about not knowing who the voice actors were because I felt like it ruined the image of the character for some reason. Number 4, if I read one book by an author and I didn't like it, I'm not reading another book from this author. Unless I hear about it over over and over and the premise sounds interesting. And I know this is like super irrational and unfair because who knows, maybe this author had time to like hone in their craft and, you know, polish their skill, but for some reason it takes a lot for me to read another book from an author if I hated the first book that I read from them. Does that make sense? For example, Shuggy, no, that's not the author's name. I don't remember, but the author of Young Mungo, I read Young Mungo in January. It was fucking terrible. I rated it a 1 star. I never want to read anything from this author ever again. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good. That book was over 500 pages, and I feel like I've read enough. I'm good on that. Same thing with Olivia Blake, but more on the unless side. I read the Atlas 6, and I didn't like it. After I finished it, I said, I've had enough. I've read enough. But there's this book that came out recently. I actually don't know if it's like an old book that was republished. I'm not too sure on the details of that, but Masters of Death, I've been seeing that book everywhere, and it's also by Olivia Blake. The art is more so what's kind of pulling me in. Like, I look at the art and I'm getting hypnotized. You know what I mean? The more that I see it, the more I'm like, maybe I should check it out. Also, I think there's like 1 or 2 vampires in it, and as soon as you say vampires, like, vampires to me are what the bell is to the dog in Pavlov's experiment. They're like what the Cocomelon intro is to kids for me. As soon as I hear vampire, I'm immediately salivating. As soon as I hear vampire, I'm like, hey, I heard my name, someone called me, let me in, I need to be here because I was summoned. So it either goes 2 ways, which is kind of crazy, but I like to protect my peace, okay? I'm not that rigid about it though. If it does sound interesting, like, of course I'll read it. Number 5, if a book is over 350 pages, all of a sudden I can't read it. Because why are you this long? What are you saying that requires over 350 pages? Especially if you're a romance, especially if you're a rom-com. There is no reason for a romance without any mixed match of genres like drama or mystery or thriller or whatever. If it's like a plain romance, why are you over 350 pages? Because by the 300 page mark, I'm ready to wrap this shit up. Like, let's move on, okay? I'm already tired. I already know what's happening. And if it's over 350 pages, you're dragging it, okay? And we need to wrap it up. We need to get it together. It's not that serious. Say what you have to say, and in the book, put the pen down, babes. We don't need 400 pages of romance. That's just crazy. Obviously, there are exceptions to every rule, but honestly, this mindset is why I've had this goal of reading more fantasy this year, because I can't be scared of 350 pages. Like, that's ridiculous. I've kind of been comfortable with my short books, 150 pages, 200 pages, 250 if we're going crazy. But I think it's a little ridiculous for me to be scared of a book that's 350 pages or over 350 pages. Like, it makes no sense. And that's also why I have a Storygraph goal of reading 20,000 pages, I think, this year, because I've wanted to read longer books so I can get out of that mindset. I will seriously refrain from reading a book as soon as I check the page count and it says 400 plus pages, because whoa, that is a lot of commitment, and I don't know you like that. You need to relax. But I think I've been doing good. According to my Storygraph stats, 48% of the books that I've read have been 300 to 499 pages, and 4% have been 500 pages plus. So it's pretty good if I do say so myself. Number 6, and I don't know if this is toxic or not, but one thing about me, I'm gonna be harsh. Sometimes I feel myself curbing my actual feelings on a book, especially if it's about a marginalized group. But honestly, why would I do that? And usually as I'm writing the review, I can tell that I'm doing that and I stop, because I do want to be as honest as possible. And also, a lot of times I will be very dramatic and be hyperbolic or whatever, but I will always let you know when I'm being dramatic. No book that I've hated is really that serious to me. You know what I mean? Like, any rant that I've gone on for any book is never that serious. I just like complaining, and I need to complain in order to like get over it. So that's how I deal with it. But yeah, sometimes I'll be really fucking harsh, especially if a book annoyed the shit out of me. Which brings us to our 7th and final toxic trait. I am way better at writing writing reviews on books I didn't like than books I'm obsessed with. It's like, girl, yes, leave me speechless. That's when you know I really love the book, when I cannot find the words. I don't know what that says about me. If I loved you less, maybe I could talk about it more, or whatever the hell Jane Austen said, because she was right. Honestly, that is a banger of a sentence, because I totally get it. Like, Miss Austen totally gets it. I love you so much that you leave me speechless. That's the effect that I need. That's the effect that I want. And that's when you know. That's when you know you got me. Alright, so that is it for this video. If I can come up with more of my toxic book traits, I'll definitely make a part 2. Please let me know down in the comments below what are some of your toxic book traits. Whether it's like super negative or super positive to the point that it's toxic, I want to know. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all in my next one. Bye!